Hi, Tony Rangel here. And I've been sitting here before I turned the camera on for about 5 minutes. Just watching mind. Awareness, watching mind. Slightly identifying with mind and looking for a subject matter, a topic to discuss. Instead, my wife Marilyn is out getting her hair done, and my long-haired chihuahua is sitting in my lap because that's what little dogs do. They look to find a lap to sit on. Hello, hello. And sometimes this is how it is, if not always. It's always here. Presence is always here. Existence is always here. And as long as I am formless awareness manifesting as human being, awaking to my formless nature through this body, I have to come to terms with the fact that this body is a conditioned being. That there is simply so much sensory input at any given moment that the brain, let alone the mind, has to filter things out. Which leads to something that I saw the other day called inattentional blindness. It means while you are paying attention to one thing, clearly you are not paying attention to something else. So multitasking is a corporate myth made up by those hired to develop efficiencies. And sometimes I simply have to remind self to come back to embodied awareness. Simply seeing, listening, feeling, tasting, smelling, without a storyline, without a narrative, without a sense of urgency and fear. And coming back to this is to come back to emptiness, the source through which life unfolds as we know it. You know, I post on Never Not Here, and recently I posted my sentiment that I felt many times, or at least sometimes, that those who post are like ships passing in the night. Sometimes far away and all you see are the lights. Sometimes close enough so I can shout out, "Ahoy there!" Formless awareness manifesting as human being, awakening to your formless nature. How's the journey for you? And sometimes I get a short answer back. Laconic answers. Well, some days are better than others. Sometimes I get a little more lengthy response. Well, if you're looking for the island of nirvana at latitude X and longitude Y, I gotta let you know right now that it is totally surrounded by some terrible reefs of impermanence. And it really just wreaks havoc with your sense of being able to navigate safe passage. I'm just a heads up. And other times it's just comforting to see the lights of another passing vessel and realizing you're not alone. I'm not alone. And when I am embodied like this, as water droplet consciousness, floating among many billions of other water droplets that make up the ocean, as I'm floating along as water droplet consciousness, I find myself oftentimes fretting and wondering and worrying, how do I access oceanic consciousness? And the irony and the humor of that search totally escapes me, until a moment of silence delivers me to the joke. I'm never apart from it. We are never separate from whatever it is that we are looking for. And what seems to get in the way for me is I keep overlooking the fact that while embodied as human being, I am a conditioned being with automatic emotional responses, cognitive responses, behavioral responses, neuronal responses that happen without my, quote, input, guidance, or need. It happens. When I wake up in the morning, I don't have to go looking for me. I am this. I wake up and here I am. Why talk about this? There seems to be a compulsion, a reminder to self not to get too lost in the forest of thoughts and concepts and theories and teachings and sutras and Bibles and Torahs and Korans, books and rules and labels, and to come back to presence. And you find whatever it is that you find. Hunger, uncertainty, fear, compassion, loving kindness, consideration, rudeness, violence, cruelty, avarice, greed. And you respond however you respond, according to a set of rules, according to a sense or a series of commandments, or according to your heart. We each have to find our way back from that apparently separate sense of water droplet consciousness and access our oceanic consciousness. And all of these are words, have nothing to do with how it actually is. No word describes it. No word captures it, does existence justice. It simply is. And we are along for the ride. And it's a kick-ass journey from time to time. Sometimes scarifying, sometimes humbling, sometimes grand. And it's just hard for us to realize that we live in a house of mirrors. That until we awaken to how it is, all we ever see are our projections in the world. And when you get 2 of us, or 3 of us, or 100 of us, or 1,000,000 of us projecting onto emptiness and reality, our anxieties and our phobias and our hopes and our desires and our fears, it's a crazy place, Jack. Or so it seems. And in this world, beings come into existence in this form and they leave the form back, behind. And the body is always there, the faithful servant, doing its best to keep it going, to keep us going until we awaken. Until we catch a glimpse of actuality, without the narrative, without the story. Mind wants to hold on to that when it happens, you know. How can I abide in this knowingness all the time and therefore achieve bliss? No more pain, no more fear, total equanimity. That's not how it is. How it is how it is. Look into someone else's eyes across the table, read a newspaper, talk to a neighbor, go out shopping, go into the fields and plow your corn, go to a marketplace, negotiate for food, clothing, shelter. That's how it is. Heaven and hell right here, depending on how you see, how you look at the world. We create our perceptual realities until we awaken. And many times the one who awakens is like that story about the one-eyed king. The one-eyed man is a king in the land of the blind. Well, not so. The one-eyed guy who can possibly see in the land of the blind is considered a crazy man, possibly an eco-terrorist, and needs to be, put in jail for all the things that he's saying, that he sees, that obviously nobody else sees. So he's a fake and a fraud and a danger to society and the rules of what is and is not right and proper. And when I get into this meditation state, sometimes, a thought emerges, presents itself, and I say, whoa, that's an important thought. And then another one goes, no, that one's important. Or something else comes up and says, this individual, this teaching, this is it, this is the one. Until you see it's just happening. Life happens. You happen. I happen. And we can find our way here through any of the sense modalities. Do you think a blind person, one who cannot see, does not see truth with the inner eye? One can come to truth through hearing. You can hear the truth, the authenticity in someone, and you can hear their lie or uncertainty or fear. You can smell somebody's fear, smell somebody's joy if you are so attuned. And through your hands and body and feeling sensations, you can feel somebody's concerns and anger and hatred and violence and love, a gentle touch of a brutal punch in the face. And you can taste in someone's preparation of the food, the care that they took in preparation. What is rushed? What is hard living? What is succulent living? What are hard times? What are easy times? This is an opportunity to be embodied, to find out what we are and what we are not.